Hey everyone, it's Lindsay, and I'm here to share with you a few different ways you can use your stamps in unexpected ways. So when I got this stamp set from Two Paper Divas, I immediately wanted to use it the way that it is intended to be used, and I will do that coming up on a few cards. However, I also wanted to try and stretch the stamp out so it's not just a Christmas stamp set. I wanted to think of a way you could use it for different occasions as well. So with this stamp set, it is to be used like this. You first stamp your little tree in whatever color you might want to do, and then you also have a little stick that goes in the center of it. I'm going to be stamping it in brown ink just to show you how this gets put together. So I'll just stamp that little stick right in the center, and then it also has a little stand as well that this sits on. Now, a lot of the ladies on the design team have used it like this, and it is gorgeous. So I will leave a link down in the description box below for the Two Paper Divas blog website, and that will show you a few different ways the design team has used it like it is intended to be used. However, I wanted to stretch this out, so I'm going to show you 3 different ways you can use this, but I'm going to make mine birthday cards. So first I'm starting with the little tree stamp set. However, I'm going to use this to create my own background. So I'm starting out with some hot pink, I think this is called Rosebud ink, it's from Memento, and I'm just inking up my stamp. Now I'm starting with an A2 card base. This is a white top folding card base, and I have masked off the back portion of this. So if I have any overhang from my stamp, it's not going to wind up on the back side of my card. I've also put just a piece of paper under the card as well, just to catch any extra ink. So I'm going to start off the cardstock so this doesn't look disproportionate. So I'm starting off the cardstock, and I'm going to stamp it down. Now I'm going to go ahead and flip this and make sure it goes point to point, and then I'll stamp this down again. And I have re-inked my stamp with that same pink ink. I'll re-ink again, and then I'm going to make sure that the bottom of the tree goes against the bottom of the tree whenever I stamp this down again. So this is just going to create like a repeating wave pattern. I'll go ahead and switch to a new color now, and I'm using the same size, the small tree, and I'll just continue to stamp this. However, now I want to line up the bottom of my tree with the point of the top lines of my tree, so it kind of fills in the gaps here. I'll re-ink, line up the bottom of the tree with the bottom of the tree again, and stamp this down. Then I just want to flip this around so the points are together, and I'll stamp the gray with the gray ink again. And again, this is just creating a repeating wave pattern. Now you could do this with 2 different colors of ink. You could do it all the same color. You could do a rainbow pattern here and really mix it up. That would be pretty too. But I'm just using 2 colors here today, and I'll just finish out this pattern on the background of my card. Now I use the smaller tree here as well. You could use the larger tree if you wanted to do a bigger card, or you could use the bigger tree on a smaller card like this, just not have as many variations. Now, once I had started this, it was kind of hard to stop with the backgrounds, so I decided to challenge myself and see if I could use the other 2 stamps to create backgrounds as well. So that's what I'm going to show you next. I'll finish stamping my last stamp there, and then I can peel off this masking tape on the back of the paper. This is painter's tape, and then this background is ready to go. All I need to do is add my sentiment on, and you can use it long ways. You can use it as a tall card. It's really up to you. Now for my next card, I'm using the stand of the tree. Now this makes a great brick. So I am just going to do a repeating pattern on the back of an A2 top folding card base. Again, I have masked off the back of the card just so I don't get any ink on the back of it. And then I'm using some blue, orange, and lime green inks. These are dye inks. And I'm just going to stamp out a brick pattern. I've also got a wipe down there that I am cleaning my stamp off each time. And I just am going to repeat this pattern all the way across the card. So I've started with blue, and whenever I start my images, I want to make sure that it's hanging off the card. So this gives it a little bit more proportional look, because you're not going to always end up with full images on your sides of the card as well as the top and bottom. So just starting off your card base is a good idea for a more cohesive look. So now that I've got my first row done, I need to start on my second row. I'm going to start in the middle of the orange and blue bricks on the top, so I want to stamp my lime green first. I can go back in and fill in on the left hand side of that, but you can see I'm doing that now with the orange, and then I can just go ahead and finish off this line with my repeating colors again. And you do want to make sure, especially between your oranges and greens, that you're really cleaning off your stamp well, because your colors will transfer. And this is such a simple background that you really want to make sure that your colors are nice and bright and vibrant and true. So I'll finish off this pattern. I've sped it up a little bit just because it does get tedious. However, it is well worth the effort. And this is a great way to really stretch out this stamp set and create a custom background for your cards. So when I'm stamping this, I am also kind of in certain spots, not noticeably, but trying to spread them out a little bit more here and there, make some closer together, just so it doesn't look so uniform. However, I don't want it to be very noticeable when I do that, so I kind of take it easy. Once I'm happy with the background and all my stamping is done, I can go ahead and remove the painter's tape, and this background is ready to go. It just needs its sentiment, and then it's a good card ready to go to its recipient. Now I've used the first two stamp sets the first two stamps in the set to create these two backgrounds, and now I want to go ahead and use these lines. I'm going to be using both of them, the little sticks that go inside the tree. I want two different sizes of what I will be using as kind of like arrows or lines here. So I'll use both of them, and I'm using some hot pink, some blue, and gray Memento inks. I don't remember the exact names of them, however, it's a big package of them, and I will leave that link on my blog. So for this background, there's really no order to this at all. I just kind of stamped and played around with the different colors. Some of them will have two blues stamped right in a row. Some of them will have a gray and a blue stamped together. Some will be long blue lines, some will be short blue lines, and the same for all the different colors as well. So you can see here I am just randomly stamping these out. I'm not taking a great deal of time to make sure they're nice and straight. However, I do make sure that these are nice and clean before I move to a different color, just so I keep my colors nice and crisp and clear. Now, you also might get a few smudges when you're doing this. If that happens to you, just try and cover up that smudge with another stamp if you can do that. If not, you can use a sanding block and an eraser to get rid of any little smudges you might get. You can also tell I'm not taking great care to make sure these are spaced properly. This is kind of just a fun, eccentric background basically. Once I'm happy with all of my stamping, I can again remove the painter's tape, and this background is ready for its sentiment. Now each card I'm going to be finishing off the exact same way, and I wanted to keep these very simple, very focused on all the work I did put into the backgrounds. So I'm starting off with strips of black cardstock here. These measure 3/4 of an inch by 2 inches, I believe. I'm using the same sentiment, and it is from the Two Paper Divas More Candles stamp set. I've used this stamp set quite often. It's one of my favorites, but it has this large birthday wishes stamp in it. So I'll go ahead and ink that up with Versamark ink. I have prepped each one of my black strips of cardstock with my embossing bag just to cut down on excess powder. So I'm just inking up my stamp very quickly and stamping it down onto each one of these cardstock strips. Once I have all of my ink down, I can go ahead and sprinkle on some white embossing powder. This is from Zing. I don't really know if I would recommend this. I kind of like a finer embossing powder. However, my daughter thought she would like it better, so she decided to play in it. So I am currently out at the moment. So I'm just making this work. It is larger granules, so you want to make sure that you have your little sentiment covered very well here. And then I'm using my tweezers to hang on to each one of these strips while I heat emboss it, just so I don't burn my fingers. Now, because these are such thin strips, as well as, they're smaller strips. You want to make sure that you have your heat gun nice and hot before you bring it to the paper, because once these warp, they're going to be really curly and hard to handle. So I'm popping these up with some fun foam and double-sided adhesive, and I am just putting these on each one of the cards. I put that top one with the trees, I put it right in the center, and then on the brick one, I put it in the very top center, and then for the birthday wishes, I put it in the bottom right-hand corner. Now for each one, I wanted to add a little bit of sparkle and a little bit more interest, so I used several different types of sequins. For the one I'm putting on now, I used some moonshine and then some black pretty pink posh sequins, and I put quite a few on and just scattered them from the top right hand corner to the bottom left hand corner. For my brick card, I used some orange and black and clear sequins from Pretty Pink Posh, and I sprinkled those around the birthday wishes sentiment. Now for the bottom one I'm working on now, I used moonshine sequins, and that's all I used on that one. However, I used some larger ones and I tucked those behind the sentiment, so only half was peeking through, so it really gave a nice effect. Here you can see I'm putting on these last few sequins on this brick card, and I am using glossy accents to secure all of my sequins, and also my quick sticks tool just to help so I don't smear that glue all around. And that finished off all the cards for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope I've inspired you to look at your stamp sets in new ways and find unique and fun ways to use them to make your dollar stretch even further. As always, I will leave you with this close-up and just a few pictures. For more information and the supply list, you can head to my blog, craftingwhilecaffeinated.wordpress.com. The link is in the description box below, as well as that eye in the top right hand corner. That will get you there too, and it will also show you a few more videos that you may enjoy watching as well. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and happy crafting!